It's Monday, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And yes, I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 100 Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit Online magazine for the last 3 consecutive years, along with the United States Latino Affairs Initiative. And certainly, ladies and gentlemen, I'll continue to be the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, because my level of honesty, now more than ever, is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see behind me, the awards say it all: the People's Choice and the People's Voice. That's right, it's me, Fernando, Uribe. Happy Monday to you all here on the 8th of July. Hope you had a wonderful 4th of July holiday, celebrating our great republic's 248th birthday. And despite all the attempts by the left and progressives and all the woke fools trying to destroy our republic, folks, patriots like myself and many of you out there are fighting just as hard to make sure that doesn't happen. And I really, really appreciate all your support, obviously, for the show and, of course, everything we do here at Jersey First TV. I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so right now on Facebook Live via StreamYard, also via the Jersey First YouTube page, also on Twitter, as well as LinkedIn and all of our social media platforms. Speaking of course, I can't say enough how grateful I am to all of you that tune in every single week. And of course, support us on social media. If you're not doing so already, make sure you like us on Facebook. Of course, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And for all your YouTube subscribers, in case you haven't done it yet, do me a favor. It takes 2 seconds. Click on the subscribe button, and you'll be automatically notified of all the great content brought to you by Jersey First TV every single week. And of course, whether you get your podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First. And once again, you'll be notified of all the great content we bring you every single week here via Jersey First TV, whether you're going down the shore, maybe coming back from Tiki Monday, whatever it is you're doing, maybe doing some errands, going for a jog. Of course, stay hydrated, folks. It's really hot out there. And in the meantime, maybe you're looking after elderly neighbors, kids, babysit, look after your pets, whatever it is you're doing, folks. I'm sure you have your smartphone with you. Why not tune in to Jersey First TV anywhere at any time? And of course, I cannot say enough, ladies and gentlemen, how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's always Jersey First TV, educating and advocating for the residents of this great state of New Jersey. Of course, brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative premiere every Thursday, hosted by the amazing Elizabeth Nader, and brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap, hosted by AJ Malillo and Stephen Rombolo, premiere also on Thursdays and live every Monday. Check your local listings, of course. Tune into the latest edition of Real Talk right here on Jersey First TV. Folks, you want to stick around for final thoughts? I'm going to have a lot to say about, well, let's be honest, folks. I mean, I talk about all the time, the Lollipop Guild, behind me, the establishment media, and the constant disservice that they do to you every single week, especially during election season. There's never a shortage of Trump derangement syndrome, whether it's columns, tweets, or anything on social media. But I'm going to talk about 2 specific clowns in the Lollipop Guild here in the state of New Jersey, again, in the establishment media. More specifically, of course, when it comes to Trump derangement syndrome, hey, you can always rely on Tommy Boy, Tom Moran. And of course, when it comes to being sanctimonious and really full of it, well, folks, you can always rely on little Terrence McDonald. I mean, God forbid, folks, can we let Terry know maybe to run a comb through his hair? I mean, he sort of has like that Matt Freeman syndrome of just like not looking presentable in any picture, But again, we're grown adults, and some of us, look nice and pretty on camera all the time, and some don't. But again, don't want to sort of go for the low-hanging fruit there. I'll tell you why these 2 specifically continue to do a disservice to us every single week in the establishment media. Of course, also, folks, you want to stick around, I have a special sort of thank you to give out to the Russ Berry Foundation. And of course, every year they have honorees for the Making a Difference Award. And folks, you'll be happy to know that for 2 consecutive years being honored, being an honoree, well, being nominated, of course. Certainly, it's a great accomplishment for me. I have an enormous amount of respect for the Russ Berry Foundation, and certainly in back-to-back years, yours truly will be getting recognition from the Russ Berry Foundation for my contributions to not just philanthropy, education, but most importantly, folks, being New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist. So special thank you will go out to the Russ Berry Foundation a little bit later. You definitely want to stick around for that as well. Folks, it is election season, as I mentioned, and of course, there's a lot to talk about, whether it's local elections, county commissioner races. But folks, it is a presidential election year. Obviously, at the top of the ticket, we have the dementia-ridden Joe Biden as the sitting president of the United States, obviously taking on his challenger in a rematch from 2020 with the 45th president, Donald Trump. And of course, we have a Senate race here in New Jersey that's pretty interesting, and polling will tell you that. And of course, all 435 House seats will be up for grabs. And there are some interesting races throughout the country, but more importantly, here, even in New Jersey. And one of the races I think that you definitely want to keep an eye out for, folks, is in the 5th Congressional District. And certainly the incumbent, Josh Gottheimer, who will be on the show later this fall, so he definitely wants to look out for that interview. But folks, hey, what makes the race interesting certainly is his Republican challenger. And she joins me live tonight, folks. Again, running for the Republican Party in the 5th Congressional District. Ladies and gentlemen, she is Mary Jo Guinchard, joins us here live on Real Talk. Mary Jo, how are you?
I'm good, Fernando. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm great. And again, thank you for joining me here. And folks, again, it takes 2 seconds. Like, comment, and share. And you'll show your support for Real Talk here tonight with my guest. Again, NJCD5 candidate for the House of Representatives, Mary Jo Guinchard here joins us live on Real Talk. And folks, again, if you're not familiar with the 5th Congressional District, one of the bigger ones of the 12 congressional districts in New Jersey. It encompasses 47 municipalities in Bergen County. I'm not going to name them all, folks. You know, there's a certain time limit on the show, but some municipalities that stand out for me: Allendale, Alpine, Bergenfield, Bogota, Closter, Cresskill, Damaris, Dumont, Fort Lee, Glen Rock, Harrington Park, Hackensack, Hillsdale, Hohokus, Midland Park, Old Tappan, Oradell, Palisades Park, Paramus, Park Ridge, Saddle River, Teaneck, Washington Township, Westwood, Woodcliff Lake, and Wyckoff in Bergen County. There are 4 municipalities in Passaic County, which include Bloomingdale, Ringwood, Wanacue, and West Milford. And over in Sussex County, there's 14 of them. They include Andover Township, Branchville, Frankford, Hamburg, Hampton Township, Hardyston Township, Lafayette Township, Montague Township, Newton, Sandyston Township, Sussex, Vernon Township, along with Wantagh Township. Whoa, I might need a drink there just to refresh you. That's a lot of towns there. But folks, again, Mary Jo joins us here. Now, Mary Jo, one of the things that really stood out for me is, you know, you don't have to do this. Certainly, I know you enjoy a certain amount of success, obviously, outside of politics. But what I ask candidates all the time is, what is prompting you to run for a House seat in the 5th Congressional District?
Well, first of all, I want to thank your audience as well for always tuning in for you. Amazing, amazing show that you have, Fernando. So why am I running? You're right. I don't think any of us have to do this, but there is one driving reason why we do, and that is the love for our country, obviously. And we have times right now that I don't think any of us has seen before, at least in my generation. And we're at a really tough time. It's critical. It's critical. I think we're at the point of an intersection that we either go one way or the other, and the other is, for me, off a cliff. And that is not an option. That is not an option.
When we look at certainly this election season, I mean, it's as toxic and tribal as we'll ever get. Obviously, at the top of the ticket, we know that certainly everyone has an opinion about the 46th president and his opponent, the 45th president. And we'll touch on that a little bit later, certainly, because that's going to have an effect on sort of down the ballot races. No doubt yours, as well as other Republicans that will be running this year, whether it's for House seat or Senate seats. But Mary Jo, I got to ask you, though, when we look at your campaign and we look at really sort of the dire needs in the 5th Congressional District, should you be victorious this November against the incumbent, what would you like to tackle right away should you take office in January?
I think the number one thing that we're going to need to tackle for sure is the border, and also the cost of living and crime. Those are the 3 things that are really top of the list for me, and I think top of the list for most of America right now and their concerns. So the scary part for me is that we actually have to wait till we are sworn into office in January. This is something that this administration right now should be tackling, this border issue.
Well, I mean, Mary Jo, let's be honest. I mean, it's been embarrassing. The president of the United States appointed the vice president, that clown, to be the border czar, right? And to the best of my knowledge, I mean, I take naps every day, but I don't know how long I was asleep. But to the best of my knowledge, I mean, Vice President Kamala Harris hasn't done a single thing at the border other than watching people basically just run across like it's almost like a 5K race, in the middle of Route 17.
Fernando, you could not be saying anything that is so true right now. Literally, where can you travel? I ask you this, where can you travel anywhere in the world that has the border situation like we have right now? Nowhere, nowhere. We are being completely vulnerable. This is a security risk. It's a health risk. We have diseases coming, across the border that we haven't seen, in decades. So no, this border situation is horrific. I'm originally from Texas. I don't know if you know that. I'm familiar with the border. I've gone down to the border in January to see firsthand what was going on. I was at Eagle Pass. I was at McAllen. And this is unacceptable. I was with the Border Patrol. I was with the National Guard. I was with everyone down there in the water at Eagle Pass. I cannot believe what I've seen. I've been in Brooklyn at the Naval Yard right there at the airfield, at, the Floyd Bennett Field. What's going on? I cannot even put my arms around why our country is allowing something like this to happen. And we're a loving country. We are the country for the brave and for, America, other people to come into our country. I come from immigrant great grandparents, but they came in the right way for that American dream.
It's interesting you mentioned Texas. And by the way, folks, if you're just joining us live, it's 6:10 here on the East Coast. My guest right now live is NJCD5 candidate Mary Jo Guinchard joins us here live. Folks, again, 2 seconds. Like, comment, share. Let everybody that you know how much you enjoy Real Talk here on Jersey First TV. Mary Jo, I'm a big Cowboys fan. Love the state of Texas. Navy blue all day with a big star. I'm a big Cowboy fan. Love what they're doing over there. Great governor. As opposed to, really the joke we have here in New Jersey. Greg Abbott's doing great things over there, but even he's being, neutered essentially by the federal government when it comes to the border. And, again, he's the governor of one of the more populated states or growing populated states in the country. And it seems like Greg Abbott constantly is at odds with the President of the United States, the Department of Justice, and quite frankly, the Department of Homeland Security that should be doing a better job at the border.
The problem is it's not even a border problem anymore. Every state is a border right now.
Correct.
Every municipality is a border. We're all hands on deck at this point because it comes from the top, and the top of the pyramid is that we have a president that is weak. And I don't mean to shame or anything that's going on. I'm not a doctor to, say what is going on, but visually what I can see is someone that is not performing the duties of the free country, a world leading country, to show the strength that we have. We are not doing the job that we should be doing, and the example we are setting is not the example that I want to see. And you want to know why I'm running? There's your biggest reason right there. We need to have a strength of government to not allow what's going on right now.
And it's interesting because this is really predicated in sovereignty. And, again, we just celebrated the 248th birthday of our republic on Independence Day. And obviously, some years after the Declaration of Independence was signed, Mary Jo, we would see the Constitution being ratified. And within the document, again, I'm not, a constitutional law professor, even though I can be, but I have a pretty good understanding about the Constitution. And within the document itself, the federal government is responsible for sovereignty, the preservation of borders. Here's an example. I'm the son of immigrants. Okay. My mom left communism in Cuba. My dad left poverty in Colombia. If I decided to go, and as a matter of fact, I just visited Colombia last summer with my family. Mary Jo, if I decide to go to Colombia and overstay, not a visa, I'm just visiting family, but if I decide to stay there, okay, and I decide to I'm not a Colombian citizen, I'm an American citizen. I'm no longer, touring, no longer sightseeing. If I decide to be you know what, I'm going to stay there. I'm going to try to go to college for free in Colombia. I'm going to try to apply for social services in Colombia. Guess what happens? They're going to deport me.
That's right.
Again, they understand that I'm there illegally. But it just seems like when we talk about illegal immigration in this country, it seems like it's being weaponized. Well, it's been weaponized by the left for as long as I can remember. But the bottom line is, I think during this election cycle, we are seeing in real time the harmful and in some cases the dangerous impact of illegal immigration.
That's right.
And, Democrats in the House and in the Senate seem to be more interested in keeping their seats than really fixing the problem, or quite frankly, trying to even come up with a solution like, hey, let the Border Patrol do their job. Let's make sure, again, I'm all for letting people come in the right way. My parents did it the right way, the legal way, as I'm sure your family did as well. And so other millions of other people. But the fact is that it's not sustainable. Our hospitals, our school districts, we are talking about social services. We're talking about funding going to illegal immigration that should be going to our veterans, the elderly, kids, Americans. And whenever I say that, I'm called a bigot, a xenophobe, whatever. That's not the case, Mary Jo.
It's not the case at all. And you've touched upon something so critical. For me, the whole thing that's going on with the border right now is like a domino effect. The domino effect is it's affecting our economy. And number one, we're not energy independent anymore, which we're just, we're bankrupting the system even more so. We're already in a very difficult situation, and we're making it even more. You touched upon how we're taking care of all the illegal aliens right now. We're taking care of their health care. We're taking care of their living expenses. We're taking care of everything. When have we ever done that to our seniors or our veterans or our homeless? But yet we're doing that as well. And then the crime that's coming in is inexcusable. The young, the youth, the mothers that have been massacred, and I say massacred because it's horrible how they have died. We have crimes that yet we have to see, and that's what scares me. This is three of the most important things that I am going to fight for. My opponent is not fighting for it. He has not been to the border. He is not worrying about any of these. I have signed so many pledges about making sure that we keep the taxes correct, making sure, I'm all for term limits. All of these things that to me all couple together. This all has to do with border control. It has to do with being able to afford gas and your grocery bills of the economy. And it has to do with our safety and security at home. Because you know what? It's not happening right now. And this is, I feel, what we are going to be charged to do, and I am going to do it. I've done it as a former mayor. I've done it as a trustee. I've done it as sitting on a planning board. I have the tools to bring to the table, and I am not going to sit quiet and let this country fall short.
You mentioned fuel, and this is something that this administration in Washington has failed miserably on. We were at a point where, we were paying less than $3 for gas at the pumps. And, it's interesting, many of, whether it's the establishment media in New Jersey, whether it's sort of like, far left Democrats in Washington, it just seems like they're always like focused on January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. You know what I remember about January 6th? That gas was like $2, that our border was secure, that our economy was thriving, and we were actually not trying to enable lawlessness in our cities, right? But again, priorities. But back to fuel, and this is what's really, really irritating me about this president and this administration. It's like, you're curious about why approval ratings are down for President Biden, why, Americans are struggling. Well, when on your very first day in office in 2021, you basically undo everything your predecessor succeeded on via executive order. Well, yeah, hello, that's the bill coming due, especially on fuel, where you shut down pipelines, you stop drilling domestic. Listen, I'm all for trying to be responsible for the environment, but again, I don't care about the platypus or possums in Alaska. That's not me. That's not who Fernando Uribe is. I care about being fuel efficient, energy independent. And by the way, folks, again, I'm not, a biology or physics professor, but by the way, newsflash, petroleum doesn't just get processed into gasoline to fuel your cars.
That's right.
Petroleum is used to make a plethora of household items that we need every day. So when we're not processing petroleum domestically, we have to import it. That's going to make the cost of goods and services more expensive. Again, folks, I'm not teaching economics at Rutgers, but you don't need an MBA to understand this, Mary Jo.
Everything we touch touches fuel. Your lipstick, your doorknob, the car that you drive. There's nothing that you touch that doesn't touch fuel. And just to be, maybe a little bit of a info here, we have the cleanest fuel in the world, but yet
Correct.
we are taking fuel from foreign countries that's not clean. So if we're wanting to be clean in America, why aren't we using the fuel that is clean? And also, you need a balance of energy. So,
Correct.
and you can't have wind in the ocean. We see the disaster on the Jersey Shore that's happening with that. You can't just be electric cars. We see what's going on in California when they were all, being told, oh, don't, plug in your cars at this hour and this hour because the grid can't handle it. So you have to understand what all of these different types of being green mean. You cannot just be one thing. And all of us want to be responsible. Can we be better? Of course, we can always be better, but we cannot be irresponsible the way we're being by taking fuel from other countries, because that means also that's a security risk as well for our country, giving up our independence.
Absolutely. Folks, it's 6:18 here on the East Coast. If you're just tuning in live, like, comment, and share. Latest episode right now live. My guest is NJCD5 candidate Mary Jo Guinchard here, joins us live on Real Talk. Mary Jo, obviously we talked about fuel, we talked about the border, but in your capacity, certainly looking at the budget federally, looking at what we spend, I mean, it just seems like infrastructure is still a problem. What would you like to, again, the 5th Congressional District is a pretty large district, one of the bigger ones in the state. What would you like to tackle? Obviously, you mentioned the border and everything else, but what other things would you like to tackle in the 5th Congressional District should you win in November and should you take office in January?
I think one of the biggest things we need to tackle as a whole for New Jersey and the country, you touched upon it a minute ago, and that's crime. That is crime. We have got to give back the law to our police officers, to those who keep our communities safe. We have to let them know we back them 100%. We need to let all the first responders know, from ambulance to fire departments, that we are going to support them 100%. Because without that, we have other domino effects that are going to have issues. We've got natural disasters that happen. Who do you go to when there's a natural disaster? That's your first responders. What happens when there's a fire? That's your first responders. If we're not allowing them to know we are supporting them, they are retiring left and right. I don't know if you've seen all the stats on that, but I know so many officers that have retired and left. They're moving out of state. We need to incentivize people to stay in their state. We need to incentivize businesses to stay in our state. We don't want our kids moving away. We have to be able to afford to live in New Jersey. And that all, to me, is so critical. So before we can tackle infrastructure and all those things that we should be doing anyway in the federal government, that is part of your purview, we should be making sure that we're keeping our families, that they can afford to live in New Jersey, that we are being responsible with all of them on all the different levels that we touch upon. I've never seen a laundry list of problems ever like I'm seeing now.
Mary Jo, obviously across the House of Representatives, we have some pretty despicable members of the House, right? We have the squad, right? We have, AOC across the river from me. Certainly we have Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, they're just really despicable members of the House of Representatives. We have Jerry Nadler in New York. We have others. But what I keep hearing kind of consistently from my sources and people I talk to all the time is that, the incumbent in this race tends to be one of the more moderate Democrats in the House. And I'm not sure if you've heard that. I hear it a lot. Again, compared to people like Frank Pallone, who's a clown, you got Bill Pascrell, who's useless. You certainly have others in New Jersey that have been there for way too long. That's usually not the case that I keep hearing with your opponent, the incumbent. And he tends to not be, part of the woke crowd. He's not crazy left or crazy progressive. But when you hear that, hey, he's one of the more moderate members of the House of Representatives, what tends to be your response when you talk to potential constituents, or you're going knocking on doors, or talking to people at county fairs, or it's the summer, so you're talking to people all the time?
I'm talking to people all the time, and you know what? All you have to do when someone says that to you is say, look at his voting record. He votes literally almost 100% of the time with Biden and Pelosi. That speaks volumes right there. He is not listening to his constituents. He talks a very good game. He looks very good, but at the end of the day, it's about your voting record. And he is not doing what is needed. I don't see him closing the border. I don't see him backing the blue here. He does a lot of speeches all over the place, but speeches are cheap if you don't follow through.
All right, fair enough. Again, the reason I I'm sort of bringing it up in discussion is just because, again, we look at this cycle where, there's a lot of toxic Democrats in Washington. There just are, both on the Senate side, right? We got clowns like Bernie Sanders, right? We have obviously Chuck Schumer. Obviously we have other senators around, Dick Durbin around the country, as well as I mentioned before, members of the House. But is it possible? Listen, this is certainly not JFK's Democrat Party.
No.
It's not even Bill Clinton's Democrat Party, which I objected to a lot, believe it or not. Not, obviously throughout my adult life, but this is certainly not the same Democrat Party that I think that my parents were used to seeing. As I mentioned before, whether it's JFK, whether it's Bill Clinton, we're seeing the Democrat Party now on a national level veer very left. In many instances, many members of the House and Senate are blatant anti-Semites. We are seeing many members of the House and Senate in Washington not support law enforcement. We're seeing disarray in our cities. Okay, not that, listen, dumps like Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and Cleveland and St. Louis, they've always been dumps. That's not news. But the idea that we are seeing district attorneys being elected or being appointed, and we're seeing these cities continue to sort of go down the rabbit hole of wokeness and progressive policies that, Mary Jo, we know just don't work. We're seeing in California.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because, Gavin Newsom is sort of revered in some circles in the Democrat Party, just like Phil Murphy, the emperor here, which is astounding to me after 7.5 years of Phil Murphy. We're almost broke here. The state is awful to live in, highest taxes in the country. And it just seems like, I think on a national level, though, Democrats in Washington continue to embrace high taxation, sort of coddling criminality. Again, for me, as someone who is, a pretty commonsensical conservative, this has to be alarming. And for you, again, as you're going door to door, talking to, potential constituents and residents alike. Again, I'm looking at this district. There's a lot of suburban townships here that are concerned about carjackings, car thefts. My God, we're seeing car thefts on people's lawns in New Jersey. What do you want to tell potential voters? And again, like everything else, independent voters are the ones that win elections. Sometimes they stay home because they're not motivated. How do you want to motivate independent voters tuning in tonight that might say, hey, Mary Jo Guinchard, motivate me to come to the polls on November the 5th?
I want to tell them that if they are better today than they were 4 years ago, then go vote how you want to vote in that direction. But if you cannot answer that question, you must vote for the conservative way, because we are not better than what we were 4 years ago. We are in wars. We have crime. We have open borders. We're not backing the blue. The list goes on and on. We're not energy independent. And that all has to do with, the pendulum has swung so far left that it just can't go any further. People can't afford their gases to put gas in their car right now. They're deciding, do I buy eggs and milk, or do I put $20 of gas in my car to go to work? So they're compromising all over the place. This is not the America that you and I know for sure. And that's why it's important to vote. You vote for the issues. If you are on the fence of voting one party or another, look at the issues. And yes, Josh is very smooth. And I'm sure he's a great husband and a great father and a great son. But his policies and the way he stands up to what's going on right now, he's not doing it. He has not been to that border one time. Not one time have I heard him talk about the border. Not one time have I heard him discuss the issues that are really pertinent to our community here in CD5. I don't even know where he is right now because he's running for governor. We all know he's running for governor. It's known. He's traveling all over the state. He's been interviewed about it. I've been interviewed about it. He needs to decide, does he want to be a congressman or does he want to be a governor? Because you can't do both at the same time. And all he does is try to earn money, and he's not out there helping the people or listening to the people.
Mary Jo, you mentioned about wars, and one of the things that I'm staunchly against is this sort of like perpetual ongoing funding about what's going on in Ukraine. Listen, I've been on record as saying I care about Americans. And while, obviously there are organizations like NATO and our allies that should be looking out for Ukraine, that's not our problem. I mean, I don't know how else to say it without sounding cold. I don't care about listen, I think the might and power of the Soviet Union or Russia, I think is overblown. I don't think Putin is as powerful as people make him out to be. I don't think Russia is as, capable as people make him out to be. Again, we're going on over 2 years, and Ukraine's the size of Staten Island. And it seems like the Russian Empire can't overcome the Ukrainian army. So it's like we keep funding, President Zelensky and that corrupt regime. We keep funneling money overseas. I mean, again, I don't want to sound inhumane, but that's not our problem. Okay. Let Ukraine and Russia deal with it. Let allies in NATO and Europe deal with it. That's not our problem. The billions of dollars we're sending over to Ukraine, we could use for infrastructure. Our roads suck. Not just New Jersey, they suck nationally. Our national mass transit system still sucks. Okay. We're talking about, spending in Washington is just through the roof. Take some of this money, use it for Americans. Okay. If the left and progressives in Washington are so concerned about illegal immigration and helping illegals, then do me a favor. Stop funneling money to Ukraine, bring that money back, and either help Americans or help people that are immigrating here. Again, it just seems like, Democrats in leadership positions in Washington want to do everything and anything, but they're not being smart fiscally. And, where do you stand right now? What's going on with funding for Ukraine and the world together, Mary Jo?
Very simple. If we don't take care of our country right now, we're not going to be able to help anyone. We are in such a deficit. It is, as you said, out of control. I don't even call it going on the credit card anymore. I don't even know how we can keep printing the money that they're trying to print. It's out of control. We need to worry about our border. We need to worry about safety in our country, and we need to worry about the Americans being able to put food on their table. And until we do that, we should be extremely careful how much money we are sending anywhere, because we're not going to be a country to do it if we don't take care of us first. And that we must do, because it is gone to a place where they've even projected we could be way over the 36 trillion that we're, in the deficit. We could be 54 is what I heard a number that was tossed out. We could double that amount. That is not sustainable at all. We won't be even able to touch our infrastructure at this point. I always make a joke. I end up touching up my makeup as I'm on the campaign trail from one stop to the next stop. I can tell you every pothole that we hit when I'm in that car, because it's like bump, bump, bump. And then what about all the bridges that are needing repair? Correct. There are so many things that are on that wish list of what to do for our country. We need to worry about our country. We really do. We have a war going on silently in our country right now. They anticipate 3 million illegal aliens are totally not accountable for right now. Many of them military age that have come across that border. That should be concerning all of us as a security risk right now.
No, it certainly should. Mary Jo, polling tells us that the 45th president is actually within the margin of error here in New Jersey against the 46th president. Now, again, I'm a fan of history. I'm a big history nerd, love reading. For anyone that's not aware or doesn't recall, the last time New Jersey turned red in a presidential election year, I was a baby, basically. It was 1988, okay? That was the last time New Jersey went red, and that was during the election of George H.W. Bush.
Yes.
That's a long time ago. And it would
Yes.
seem that the 45th president, after a very successful rally in Wildwood, New Jersey, which I was at, and again, there was a lot of establishment media in New Jersey trying to underplay the number. Folks, I was there. I was standing in the press pit, seeing tens of thousands of people in the sand on the beach there for President Trump. Okay, it wasn't 20,000. It was easily somewhere between 50 to 75,000 people. Okay, I know about the rally in the Bronx. That was a great, great turnout. It would seem Donald Trump is polling well in New Jersey. I think that people know how upset they are with the Democrat Party in New Jersey. We see the disaster that is Phil Murphy. We certainly have seen the destructive impact of these woke progressive policies. And the president just isn't popular right now. And the 45th president seems to be. Do you think that could ultimately help you and other down the ballot Republicans running in districts that sometimes Democrats are like, well, we're not worried about it, but maybe they should be worried? How do you react when you hear that polling data?
Well, I was at Wildwood as you were. I'm so sorry that we didn't see each other.
Yes,
I
yes.
was 3 or 4 rows right from the president down there. And from my perspective, there was at least 100,000. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was a sea of people, and the energy that was in Wildwood was not to be imagined. It was incredible, incredible. And so I can tell you for sure that it's the issues that are going to drive everyone in this election. For sure, the issues, the border, the crime, the budget, the economy. It is something that is on every door I knock, every person I speak with, Fernando. We can't even get past those 3 issues. They are so concerned. There's no question in my mind New Jersey is going to flip. There is no question in my mind District 5 is going to flip, because we are not going to sit by and allow this country. We all love America too much, way too much. And, I always say the silent majority is deafening. Well, I don't think the silent majority is silent much more, because the issues are too important and too critical.
No, they certainly are, without question. I know you have to go shortly, Mary Jo. We appreciate you being with us here. It's 6:33 here on the East Coast. We're about to wrap up right now with NJCD5 candidate Mary Jo Guinchard here on Real Talk. Mary Jo, as obviously it's the summer, obviously hopefully you're staying cool and hydrating, as hopefully everyone out there is right now as well. But it is the summer months. You're going door to door. I see you're going to events all the time, whether it's food festivals, county fairs, you name it. Listen, again, CD5, there's a lot of suburban residents there, obviously, looking at these townships. Oftentimes, people don't really start paying attention until after Labor Day. But during this campaign trail, what are you hearing in terms of the feedback when you're talking to people, whether it's Republicans or Democrats or independents? Again, you have to try to win people over however you can. I've always been of the belief that, Republicans, stay home and they elect Democrats in the process. I think we saw that with the gubernatorial race in 2021. We saw that last year in legislative races. There's a chance that obviously if Republicans aren't energized, they're not going to go out and vote. I mean, that's not the case. I mean, we know that the 45th president has enormous energy around him. Joe Biden can't even fill, a gymnasium, down in Allendale, for God's sakes, probably, right? So, did you feel that same enthusiasm with your campaign as you're going door to door again during the summer months here, and again as we get into the fall and the leaves change colors, but the message remains the same?
I'm feeling it even more so than ever, I have to tell you. And what I'm hearing from so many people is, where can we go to donate? And I ask everyone, please go to my website, maryjoforcongress.com, and that's MARYJOFOR Congress.com. Check out my social media. See where I'm going to be. We keep it updated all the time. The energy that we're seeing at the street fairs, and we have meet and greets. We're having an event coming up on the 23rd of July. That's where you need to be there. Be with your fellow constituents as well, seeing what's happening. The energy is so contagious, Fernando. You cannot deny that there is a wave getting ready to happen, and it's a wave to save America. That's what's happening. We love our country. People want to be able to, raise their children the way they want to raise them. They don't want this woke behavior. They don't want to worry about the gas prices or their open borders or the crime or that the police won't be around to defend and take care of the crime. We are going to do this. And I feel it, the energy, and that's what drives me every single day.
Mary Jo, any handles, any websites where our viewers tonight can donate, can follow you on social media, and again, in these coming months, get involved with your campaign?
Absolutely. Like I said, maryjoforcongress.com, and that's spelling out the word for. And my social media click is all right there in my website, or just look for Mary Jo for NJ or Mary Jo for Congress on social media, X. I'm on all of them, and I ask for everyone's support. No dollar amount is too small. $5, $10, $25. I know people are hurting, so whatever they can give is so appreciated, and it helps us get out our message to even touch even more people that we need to touch.
Mary Jo, I just looked at my notes real quick here. I know that the incumbent has referred to you as MAGA Mary.
Yes.
When you heard about that characterization, what came to mind?
What came to mind immediately is my name is Mary, and I love my name. And what Catholic Italian do you not know isn't named Mary? So she's very, the Virgin Mary is very revered in many religions. So I took that as a compliment that he called me Mary. And then my question to many of the radio hosts and journalists that interviewed me was, who doesn't want America great? Forget about the acronym. We've got an amazing man running for president. So is that all that they can attach themselves to, is to call someone MAGA Mary? All I know is if we don't get Donald Trump in this time, we have a lot of more bigger problems than anybody can ever see. He is the only one that's going to be able to turn the tide, get us energy independent, close that border, take care of our families economically, and make sure the blue is back. So I am fully supportive of Donald Trump. I don't care about being labeled MAGA Mary because I love America and I want America to be great.
Mary, are you willing to debate the incumbent Representative Josh Gottheimer at any point in time this fall? And if I could try to set that up, would you be receptive to a debate?
Absolutely. But I want to make sure we do it early September because I don't want any holidays to get in the way, and we shouldn't do it right before the election. I say give the people the choice and let them hear it before they get those ballots dropped in their mailboxes.
Folks, she is NJCD5 candidate Mary Jo Guinchard joining us here live. And Mary, first of all, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate coming on. I know you're very busy, knocking on doors, campaigning, obviously working with staff. We know how important vote by mail is going to be for candidates, really, especially Republican candidates in New Jersey, to embrace that. They're going to have to, unfortunately. There's no way around it. Whether it's that, whether it's making sure that, you're getting your message out there. Again, I appreciate your time here tonight. I appreciate the kind words you have from my brand of journalism, which, a lot of the establishment media usually don't like me. But that's because people like watching me as opposed to them. So I really appreciate your confidence in me and your trust in this program. Thank you so much. I'll give you the last word here tonight.
I want to say, first of all, thank you, Fernando, and to all of your viewers for watching. What you're doing is so important for everyone to be able to give a platform for the nominees and also to let us have this wonderful conversation. For me, that's what's so important. And what I want to say to my district, CD5, and to anyone outside of CD5 that's watching, I am here for you. I am not a career politician. I am a mother, a grandmother, and I care. I truly, truly care. I want you to have a seat at my table. I want us to be able to have a conversation. That's the only way we're going to work together and solve the problems. We should be America, and we should be able to have that conversation. And I look forward to being your next Congresswoman. And I thank you again, Fernando, for giving me this time to be able to have the conversation with you and to your viewers.
Well, Mary Jo, once again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Good luck on the campaign trail. I'll see what I can do to try to set up a debate. Can't promise anything because, you got to reach out to campaigns and it's always very dicey. And, you have to get dates together and locations, or if it's remote, we'll see. But I'll do my best here. I love to talk to candidates during town halls and debates. We'll see if we can get that done. Folks, she is, once again, NJCD5 candidate Mary Jo Guinchard Join us live here on Real Talk. Mary Jo, good luck on the campaign trail, and we'll see you hopefully soon here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Have a good one. Folks, good stuff there with Mary Jo Guinchard. And I look forward to having her opponent, the incumbent U.S. Representative Josh Gottheimer, later on this fall here on the show. And certainly we'll have a discussion, obviously, about what's going on this election cycle. And look forward to having the congressman on later on this fall. And, again, folks, that's what we do here on this program. We like to bring you all sides and all the candidates and talk about the issues. Not fluff, not woke nonsense, not virtue signaling or identity politics. No, folks, what we talk about is real stuff here on this program. That's the name Real Talk. Can't speak for my colleagues in the field, my liberal colleagues in the establishment media, but we're actually doing work here on this program. Can't say the same for them. That's for certain. Once again, I want to thank Mary Jo Guinchard for a very illuminating conversation and certainly wish her the best of luck on the campaign trail. Folks, you don't want to go anywhere because you know what time it is. Obviously, I know you've been waiting for it. It's time for final thoughts. And yes, folks, I talk about it all the time, obviously. The ongoing disservice that the Lollipop Guild here in New Jersey media, the disservice that they provide you quite often, whether it's their columns, whether it's their social media posts. There's never a shortage of nonsense, folks, in the establishment media. And take your pick. There's really never a shortage, right? You got Jay Laster with Insider NJ. You got Matt Freeman with Politico, New Jersey, right? Little Matty, I've never seen a human being obsessed over his pets, but that's kind of reminds you of Ron Burgundy, right? Anchorman, he really likes that dog. I don't know, it makes you wonder sometimes. You obviously have little Terrence McDonald with the New Jersey Monitor, certainly Tommy Boy, Tom Moran with NJ.com, then the Star Ledger, obviously Uncle Dave, David Cruz, who's off for the summer. What else is new with David Cruz? Folks, crossing guards have a better work ethic than David Cruz. I'll plant the flag on the ground right now. I'll plant it on the hill, and I'll die on that hill there. Okay? Shout out to all the great men and women working during the summer, crossing guards, trying to keep our kids safe during the summer months for anyone going to summer school or administrators going to their respective campuses. Okay? That's a work ethic. Can't say the same for David Cruz. But what else to do with Uncle Dave? All right? Or Chucky, Charles Style, who, again, we know never watches this show live. It's 6:48. It's way past his bedtime. So we know Chucky's not up for this. Certainly Maxie, the editor of Insider NJ, Max Pizarro, when he's not playing dress-up, maybe he's publishing a column once a week or two. I don't know. Or Alan Steinberg, yeah. 6:48. Yeah, Alan Steinberg, that's way past Sleepy Al's bedtime. But folks, it's election season. And one of the things that is always entertaining are the levels of Trump derangement syndrome. And take your pick. I mean, you can go on their social media whenever during any time of day, and you'll see little instances, right? With the Lollipop Guild behind me. Okay? These Oompa Loompas, again, are trying to convince you that you should trust the establishment media when we all know we can't. We can't even trust the establishment national media when they've been coddling and covering for Joe Biden for the last 4 years in his cognitive decline. Right? But that's what they do. And again, during this election cycle, what are we seeing about Trump derangement syndrome? Well, folks, when it comes to Trump derangement syndrome, let's be very honest. Usually leading the way here in New Jersey is Tommy Boy, Tom Moran. And I know Tom Moran, it's 6:49 Eastern time. Obviously, for someone like Tom Moran, a guy in his early 80s, he's asleep already. So he's probably watching the replay. And we all know he does, folks. Don't kid yourself. Okay? Tom Moran's so much of an egomaniac to not watch anything that's about him. All right? So I'm sure he'll watch the replay tomorrow. Again, it's way past his bedtime. But I couldn't help but wonder, obviously, as it was brought to my attention, Tommy Boy over the weekend, of course, on his Twitter, instead of tweeting about, I don't know, the 4th of July, the importance of our Independence Day, 248 years later, after brave men in the American Revolution fought so gallantly to declare independence from England and the tyranny of King George. You would think that Tom Moran would maybe have an introspective about the importance of Independence Day. But of course, that would require, once again, wait for it, that would require Tom Moran to have that four-syllable word that he struggles with, among other words, integrity. But of course, what does he do? He decides to go on Twitter, and you can see there, obviously, the tweet there. But he decides to write one of his typical nonsensical columns, right? The Supreme Court hands Trump a loaded gun. So I'm not going to read you the whole thing because I don't want to bore you. And again, I don't want to, folks, again, if you need a cure for your, insomnia and you're having trouble falling asleep, again, just read Tom Moran's columns. They work for me every time. Listen, I never struggle to fall asleep. I have a pretty healthy sleep schedule and I have a pretty healthy sleep habits. But if I ever feel like an insomniac and I'm just struggling to fall asleep, trust me, folks, just go on your iPad or print it out, and he never disappoints you. So Tommy Boy, in his recent, editorial, I call it, spewing propaganda. But anyway, it's been a tough week to divert one's eyes from the spectacle of President Biden's epic meltdown, physically and politically. But the week brought a second disaster that demands attention. Wait, folks, again, you would think that somebody abducted Tom Moran's daughter. That's the level of severity here, right, that we're seeing. The Supreme Court just ruled that American presidents have the right to break the law as they perform their duties. No, that's not what the Supreme Court said, Tom. That's what you wanted to read as. But as we all know, Tom struggles in reading Supreme Court decisions, right? He had all this hysteria about the Dobbs decision in the summer of 2022, okay, about overturning Roe versus Wade. Again, I know, Tom, 81, 82 years old. I get it. Cognitively, it's rich you talking about someone else's cognitive state when your cognitive state isn't very good either. All the Dobbs decision did, Tommy, was take the decision and relegate it back to the states. Again, I know that you studied high school history a long time ago. But somewhere when you did, or in college if you took constitutional law, and I know I did, shout out to the great Dr. Elizabeth Hall at Rutgers Newark in the graduate school. That's when I took it. And of course, got an A in it because I understand constitutional law, unlike other people that are taking it, whether it's in law school or current lawyers, right? But I remember reading something in the Bill of Rights. Wait a second. Oh, that's right. The 10th Amendment. Federalism, right? Powers not relegated to the federal government are relegated to the states. That's all the Supreme Court decision did in Dobbs. Is relegated to the states. And the states now, again, depends what state you live in, they're overseeing, reproductive freedom, reproductive rights, all the other gibberish that the left and woke fools like Tom Moran would love to weaponize every election cycle. Here in New Jersey, abortion is codified up until birth. Okay? I've said this all the time. But Tom Moran would rather virtue signal than tell you the truth. He goes on to say, and we can't change that ruling in November. Whoever wins, our wounded democracy will never quite be the same. No, Tom, our democracy is not wounded. I know your ego's wounded on a regular basis because, look at you. But our democracy is fine. Okay. Here's an interesting. This is Calamitous, says Ross Baker, professor emeritus at Rutgers University. This decision has been handed down with Ronald Reagan as president. People wouldn't have to have such apprehension. Folks, let's be honest. Ross Baker probably hated Ronald Reagan as much as he hates Donald Trump. So let's stop with the saying. But it coincides with Biden's decline. And of course, as he mentions here, interesting. Tom Moran writes, Chris Christie might consider shopping for a new home in Toronto because Chief Justice Roberts, in his majority opinion, singled out a president's right to control his own Department of Justice, to use it in any way he sees fit, criminal or not. Trump could order the FBI to conduct an illegal search of Christie's home, say, and order prosecutors to manufacture bogus evidence, and Trump can never be prosecuted for it. Oh, wait a second. You mean the way that the Biden Justice Department has been targeting his political enemies? Is that what you're talking about, Tom? Oh, my bad. I just want to make sure because it's like you're trying to come up with a hypothetical But it's happened in real time. Because from January 20th, 2017, when I was there for the inauguration, and I look forward to being there on January 20th, 2025, by the way, for the second inauguration of Donald Trump. But up until January 20th of 2021, Donald Trump never once jailed a journalist. He never once went after a political opponent, and he could have. He could have gone after the Clintons. He could have made sure that Hillary went to jail like she deserved to. He could have gone after Hunter Biden, who's a crook and a criminal. He could have gone after the Biden family, who's a bunch of criminals too. But he chose not to do that. What Donald Trump decided to do, Tommy, was wait for it. Wait. Govern. That's right. Right? Making sure that we drove domestically and we were energy independent, a strong economy. Don't take my word for it. I can look at my statements from my 401k. That'll tell me the truth, not Tom Moran. Or making sure we weren't involved in any wars. Right? But never once did Donald Trump go after his political opponents or enemies and weaponizing the Justice Department. But you know who did? Joe Biden has been doing that. We're seeing it in real time. But again, Tommy would want you to forget that because he's so forgetful too. Right? So, of course, scholars are poring over the 119-page decision. God forbid Tom Moran would do that too. What else does he have to do? He's home all day. Right? And they differ on the magnitude of this change. Roberts pushed back on the charge that this puts the president, quote, above the law since private acts can still be prosecuted as crimes. That is correct. Right? And of course, he goes on to say, the president still can't cheat on his taxes or beat his wife. Well, no one's saying that. Okay? But Chief Justice Roberts is correct. Okay? Some private acts can still be prosecuted as crimes. But folks, what we've been seeing about Donald Trump and what Tom Moran has meltdowns about are things he did in his official capacity as president of the United States. But not once does Tommy ever object to the official acts of Joe Biden. Again, weaponizing the Justice Department to go after his political enemies. One enemy in particular, Donald Trump, right? But Tommy Boy won't tell you that. Right? The decision, though, grants, quote, absolute immunity for crimes presidents may commit while exercising their core constitutional powers, like issuing a pardon, vetoing legislation, acting as commander-in-chief, or managing the Department of Justice. It grants, quote, presumptive immunity over all official acts which are more vaguely defined. The lines won't be clear until these rules are tested in court cases. Okay. Of course, Tom Moran, in his apocalyptic usual tone, the way he ends his boring-ass editorials. Right? Every school kid is taught that in America, no one is above the law. Until now. Just as Trump knocks on the door, which he is, folks, it's inevitable, the Supreme Court has handed him a get-out-of-jail-free card. No, that's not true, Tom. Justice Roberts made that very clear. But again, I get it. You're 81 years old. You read what you want to read. You see what you want to see, and you hear what you want to hear. That's not what the court decision. I haven't read all 119 pages, but I've read more than you have. And I can tell you that's not what Justice Roberts has clearly defined. May God save America, and may voters beware come November. Oh, well, yes, Tom. And again, going back to, and again, this is sort of like this apocalyptic tone that, Sleepy Alan Steinberg has, that somehow he thinks that, he'll be imprisoned if there's a second Trump presidency, that journalists will go to jail. Again, folks, let's be honest. If Alan Steinberg and Tom Moran end up in prison, I won't be crying for it. I'm actually go visit them and just maybe talk on the phone. Hey, Tom, how are you? How you enjoying the food? How you enjoying the recreation here? But again, folks, that's not going to happen. Would I cry and lose sleep if Tom Moran gets imprisoned? No, I wouldn't miss him. But that's not going to happen. Tom Moran would want you to think so, and so would Alan Steinberg, and so would Max Bizarre, and the rest of the Lollipop Guild, and these jokes of journalists. Because that's what they are. They're jokes. With their hysteria and the usual Trump derangement syndrome. But again, folks, every election cycle, and again, and this was really funny, because Tom Moran is symptomatic of a bigger problem, right? He's symptomatic of a bigger problem. And what Tom Moran has done, what Tom Moran is responsible for, along with everybody else I mentioned, and who I showed, right? That team picture of the Lollipop Guild. Okay. What the mainstream media has done, folks, unequivocally. Okay. They've been complicit in covering up Joe Biden's dementia. They've been complicit in covering up his corruption to maintain this sort of desired narrative. And that's what Tom Moran's done, folks. That's what he's done. He, along with the Lollipop Guild I just referenced, and the rest of the liberal establishment media nationally, they've been complicit in lying to you. And somehow still trying to lie to you that Joe Biden is still the only option come November the 5th. No, folks, he's not. We saw it during the debate. Okay. We saw it this past Friday night on ABC, which, folks, it wasn't even 20 minutes. Okay. Joe Biden is an utter embarrassment. Cognitively, he is declining, if not already. And no matter how hard George Snuffleupagus from ABC News, right? That's his name, right? George Snuffleupagus? I think so, right? What's the difference? Snuffleupagus, Stephanopoulos, it's the same sort of cartoon character, right? And yes, George would try to fool you into like, oh, I try to ask the hard questions. No, you didn't, George. But what did we see again? We saw the president like stuttering. Again, nothing wrong with stutters. We all have them. But failing to get coherent thoughts out. And most importantly, showing that he's presidential and showing that he's capable of leading the country. But Tom Moran will continue to coddle you and continue to be complicit in lying to you and tell you how evil Donald Trump is and how democracy is in danger. No, it's not. Because we're seeing this Trump derangement syndrome, like it's kind of like it's contagious, right? We're seeing it on a national level, right? With government officials in Washington. We're seeing it with state officials. Folks, we're even seeing it at the local level. Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher in Hoboken. I mean, Tiffany, what are you drinking? Did you just inject Trump derangement syndrome like intravenously? Are you auditioning to like for a role on CNN or MSNBC? Are you auditioning to maybe have a role in the Biden administration should he win by some miracle? I mean, folks, the amount of Trump derangement syndrome, it's kind of scary. It's not just national, it's not just statewide, it's also local, for God's sakes. People are that delusional and people are losing their minds, right? Among other local officials that also, again, seem to be complicit in coddling Joe Biden. But folks, Tom Moran leads the pack as always with his usual Trump derangement syndrome. And it makes you just laugh because, quite frankly, how can you take him seriously when he continues with nonsense like the column he just published? Speaking about difficult to take seriously, another clown in the Lollipop Guild who I can't take seriously. Yes, folks, it's little Terrence McDonald. And God forbid, can someone get Terry a comb? Do we have to start a GoFundMe for Terrence McDonald to comb his hair? I mean, anytime I see him on television or any sort of appearance, like, my man, you're a grown-ass man. Comb your hair. Look presentable, for God's sakes. I mean, Jesus. It's embarrassing. But never mind, I don't want to go for low-hanging fruit here on Terrence McDonald because I could pick on him all day. But what needs to be picked on is the usual sanctimony and this sort of like inflated sense of self-importance with Terrence McDonald that somehow he has like the moral compass of what's going on in New Jersey politics, which we all know he doesn't. His latest column, which is really interesting here. So little Terry, in a recent editorial, says New Jersey 101.5 is giving Bill Spedia an unfair advantage in the 2025 gov race. Okay. He goes on to say, radio talk show host Bill Spedia has a lot to rant about recently. Friday morning, he needled New Jersey Transit over its disastrous service shutdowns and slapped Jersey shore towns where free beach access has apparently led to crowded beaches. Again, Terry, he's doing your job. You should be, again, I don't know what the hell's going on over at the New Jersey Monitor. I get it. You got the smoke show, Sophie Nieto Munoz. That's great. She's great to look at. Great reporter, great columns. Don't got a bad word to say about her. But whoever else you're employing over there at the New Jersey Monitor, I mean, again, you're going after Bill Spedia for trying to take New Jersey Transit to task and hold them accountable. That's your job, right? You're the journalist in a supposedly nonpartisan news site. Okay. It's actually pretty funny, folks, whenever you read New Jersey, the New Jersey Monitor. This is really, really funny. I don't know if you can see it here, right? As you see it here. Support news you trust, right? That's the moniker of the New Jersey Monitor. Folks, I can't even trust Terrence McDonald to run a comb through his hair. You think I'm going to trust the news he publishes? Get out of here. But anyway, let's get back to this joke of an editorial. All right. Sort of typical for Spedia's morning show on New Jersey 101.5 FM. But now that he's running for the GOP, not for governor next year, Spedia's show is no longer just a chance for him to raise the blood pressure of his listeners by ranting about high taxes and the clowns in Trenton. Well, again, someone has to do it, Terry. You're not doing it. As the budget continues to get fatter than the character Chunk in the Goonies, for anyone who loves that 80s movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay. As the budget continues to get fatter than Chunk, as we see the gas tax on the rise, as we see spending out of control, right? Bill Spedy is the only one. Bill Spedy is doing your job. You should be the one railing against it. But again, you'll be bitching and moaning about Oprah. More on that later. Right? He's doing your job, Terry. And I get it. You publish like once a week, twice a week, maybe at best. And I get it. You have such a hard life. Going to the Dunkin' Donuts in Point Pleasant to take your MacBook or your laptop and do work as you're sipping down a coffee in your sweatpants or whatever, cargo shorts. Okay. But Bill Spedy, by the way, is doing your job, which is kind of pathetic, but more on that later. And it's one that could go on for a while. Spedia's bosses say they don't intend to take him off the air until, quote, he becomes a legally qualified candidate, which again, he hasn't declared that yet, per se, right? I haven't read the ELEC reports. I know he's raised some good amounts of money in the last couple of weeks. But until he's an officially declared candidate, he can do this. And again, and this is what bothers me about Terry. And you can look at him there with that stupid smug look on his face, obviously, that I just put up there before. Right? Again, never mind that he's insufferable. In most instances, he's actually full of it too. More on that later. Right? But again, and then of course, Terry wants to give you this long-winded explanation, right? During the column. There are legal implications to all this. The Election Law Enforcement Commission will consider this week whether New Jersey 101.5 FM is providing an in-kind contribution to Spedia's campaign by letting him stay on the air. But I'm less interested in what the station can and can't do and more interested in what it should and shouldn't do. Is it fair to let Spedia mouth off for hours every day while his opponents would have to pay New Jersey 101.5 FM to do the same? First of all, folks, I listen to 101.5 FM regularly. I have yet to ever hear a John Bramnick or Jack Ciattarelli ad air on the airwaves. For whatever reason, they don't feel they want to reach out to the viewership of NJ 101.5 FM. So what's Terry bitching about here? Right? Shouldn't a media company that has a healthy news component, one that is already covering next year's race, for governor, avoid giving free airtime to one of the candidates? Again, Terry, and this is the thing. For people that do real work, again, not like you, who just sits around and publishes once or twice a week, right? Don't you think, once again, that, this media company sat Bill down, or Bill sat down with them and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about running for governor. Maybe we should get, in-house counsel in here. Do you think that people at NJ 101.5 FM are just sitting around all day scratching their ass like you, Terry? No, they're actually sitting there looking at all their options. And I'm sure that there was a sit down between Bill and management and in-house counsel and saying, okay, what's going to happen if you do want to run for governor? Again, these are conversations that adults have, adults that work. Terry, I know that's working. I know that's a big, big word for you, right? But do you think they just sat around and scratched their ass? No, they sat around and had these conversations. Now, mind you, ELEC is about, the Turnpike Authority has more legal authority than ELEC, okay? They can't subpoena anybody. They can't hold a public hearing. I mean, they're kind of useless, to be honest with you. Yeah, they can keep ELEC reports about spending and what candidates are collecting in terms of donation, but ELEC has no real power. Okay? Again, the Turnpike Authority has more influence and authority than they do, which is pretty sad. The Turnpike Authority is pretty much a joke as well. But let me not digress. So then, of course, he doubles down by having even worse people than him as a reference. So I talked to some media watchers about this, like Joe Amaditis. He's the associate director of operations for the Center of Cooperative Media at Woke State over there, in Montclair, and hopes to grow and strengthen local news in the Garden State. Have you checked out Joe's Twitter? Now, he's a pretty insufferable prick like you, Terry, let's be honest. With his usual sanctimony. Okay? A guy who won't come on the show again because he's so triggered and offended by my Twitter. A grown-ass man who served in our military gets triggered by Twitter. By a conservative posting on Twitter. Folks, it's pretty sad. Again, Joe, thank you for your service, but you're a joke. And I know that because I see that from the text conversation I had with Joe Amaditas. So whatever amount of respect I have for Joe, I mean, that's gone too. So referencing Joe doesn't help your cause, Terry. So, of course, Joe in his infinite wisdom goes on to say, quote, I think it would come down to whether 101.5 considers itself a news organization. There's a lot of blurred lines for some organizations, especially for one like 101.5, which is not explicitly journalism. Again, is Joe Amanitas the end-all be-all, or, are they the holy grail of what's journalism? Again, Terry, be careful who you're citing. Right? Catherine Quigley, who teaches media ethics at Rowan University, another left-wing hack, where she chairs the school's journalism department, wonders what NG 101.5 would do if Speedy openly campaigned during the show. Again, Kathy, sweetheart, come on. Do you think that Bill didn't sit down with management and in-house counsel and say, hey, listen, I understand the platform I have. There have to be some parameters here. And I'm sure that management sat him down and said, listen, Bill, we don't want you openly campaigning. What you're advocating for are things that New Jersey residents are hungry for. Responsible spending in Trenton. Okay? A responsible budget. Not acquiescing to all the woke nonsense in Trenton. Okay? Stuff that Terrence McDonald never rails against. But he'll be sanctimonious about Oprah. And he'll bitch and moan like a kid who wasn't given a pacifier about it. More on that later. Okay? What Bill Spade is simply doing is airing the grievances of tens of thousands of New Jerseyans, if not maybe millions, who feel suffocated by the highest property taxes in the country, which again, Terry never talks about a gas tax that continues to suffocate motorists, right? About a plastic bag ban that has done nothing to combat or even alter any sort of environmental change. Again, all stuff that Terrence McDonald will talk about. He'll virtue signal and bitch and moan like he does. But what Bill Spady is doing is talking to everyday New Jersey about the issues that matter most to us. Again, real issues, property taxes, spending, whether or not it's worth it to open a business in New Jersey. Real life issues, not the woke virtue signaling nonsense that Terrence McDonald lives on. No, of course not. But that's what Bill Spedia is talking about. Right? Let's continue here. The problem is it's already warranted. Spedia previewed his campaign spiel in the video announcing his candidacy. Actually, I was there. Yes, it's a campaign video. Again, I was there, Terrence. Again, I leave my house to do work, not just go to Dunkin' Donuts with my laptop to check my email and maybe occasionally, again, post once or twice a week. All right. Town Square Media, which owns New Jersey 101.5, said in a statement when Speedy announces his bid for governor that it is aware of the issues involved here and has imposed some guidelines to ensure Speedy's show adheres to, quote, industry standards. It's unclear what those guidelines are, but one of the radio station's fixes for this problem is a lengthy on-air disclaimer intended to distance itself from Speedy's political career. But instead, it serves as a regular reminder that the station's star personality is running for governor. I asked some of Speedy's opponents how they feel. You know, vanilla John Bramnick, state senator, who's also seeking the GOP nomination for governor, said he doesn't think that this is complicated. New Jersey 101.5 FM is giving Speedy a campaign something of value by keeping him on the air. If he's talking policy, which he does every day, his opinion as to what should be done in the state of New Jersey, that means he's campaigning. No, Johnny. What Bill's been doing, he's been talking about this for years. Yes, it happens to coincide now that he's running for governor, but again, he's not an official candidate yet. And therefore, there is value from the station that's giving him the opportunity to speak. I'm not going to read you the rest of the nonsense here. But again, folks, once again, support news you trust. That's New Jersey Monitor. Again, I can't trust Terrence McDonald to run a comb through his head. I'm going to trust the news that he puts out there? No. Much less garbage editorials like this. Okay? But this is what's really funny about Terrence McDonald. Okay? Again, lacking awareness. Something that, again, we all know about Terrence McDonald. Terry, again, do you think that Town Square Media didn't have a sit down with Bill? And I'm sure there are some parameters. Bill's not stupid, folks. Okay? I know him personally. You think Town Square Media is stupid? No, of course not. They're not stupid either. But if there's a complaint to be had, I'm sure the Jack Chiarelli campaign and I'm sure the John Bramlett campaign will air it. Now, again, what will be done about it? I don't know. Again, ELEC is as useless as take your pick of some of the woke legislators in Trenton. They have no real power. They can't hold a hearing. They can't subpoena anybody. Again, I don't know what real power ELEC has other than keeping records and keeping the books of donations about what candidates are raising. But in some way, if someone raises a concern or files a complaint, then we'll see what ELEC does. But in the meantime, we know Bill Spadea is not done. We know Town Square Media is not done. Okay? I'm trying to think, what does Terrence McDonald want Bill Spadea to do? Quit his job and just run for governor? How is he supposed to provide for his family? Again, in the most taxed state in the country, where property taxes are the highest in the country. Again, something that little Terry never talks about or rails against. Okay? Don't know what him and his husband are paying for property taxes, but I'm pretty sure it's a big amount. You would think he would rail against that, of course. Or the gas tax, or the budget. Okay? Bill Spadea is talking about these issues because they matter. After the disaster of Phil Murphy, keeping schools shut down longer than they had to. We have yet to really see what the learning loss is for our kids. Again, these are things that don't matter to Terrence McDonald. Because he'd rather bitch and moan about Oprah than issues that really matter to everyday New Jerseyans. And speaking of Oprah, here's a little news flash for Terry. Terry, it's not conservatives like myself or Republican legislators that gutted Oprah. It's Democrats like Paul Sarlo in Bergen County and other in Democrat leadership in Trenton, like Nick Scutari, Greg Coughlin, goes all the way up to the chain, up to Phil Murphy. It's Democrats that gutted Oprah. They're happy to gut Oprah. Now, again, I understand the necessity of Oprah, and I feel for a lot of journalists that use Oprah responsibly. Okay? When there's journalists like Little Maddie filing Oprah's with the city of Wildwood to see what exactly was the count at the Trump rally. I mean, really, folks? I mean, then you wonder why people hate journalists when they file stupid Oprahs like this, making people waste time and money. But again, Terry, instead of railing against Bill Spadea, what you should have been doing for years is railing against Democrats in Trenton. The leadership. Again, someone like Paul Sarlo, someone like Greg Coughlin, Scutari. These are people that gutted Oprah. Wasn't Republicans, wasn't conservatives. By the way, again, it wasn't a conservative and or a Republican legislator that recommended gutting Oprah. It was a Democrat. It was a far-left Democrat. A spendthrift Democrat, no less, in Paul Sarlo. You think little Terry would bitch and moan about it? No, of course not. Terry, that's called the bill coming due. You never want to hold anybody on the left accountable? That's called a receipt, my man. So while you're too busy railing against Bill Spadea, what you should be doing is crucifying those on the left that gutted Oprah. The sacred Oprah that you bitched and moaned about for weeks. And again, instead of leaving your house any further than, going to the local Dunkin' Donuts, maybe you should have gone to Trenton. Maybe you should have mobilized people to go to Trenton and voice their displeasure about the Oprah bill. But again, that will require little Terry to do some work. And other than publishing once or twice a week, maybe that's the extent of the work ethic for Terrence McDonald. But folks, whether it's the usual Trump derangement syndrome or The Lazy Work Ethic, or The Usual Bitching and Moaning by Terrence McDonald. Folks, again, when you read Twitter or you read Facebook or Instagram, as you can see there, my reaction, that's the only reaction you can have, folks. You have to laugh at these two clowns, because all they're doing is showing you that the establishment media just isn't trustworthy, that they're not looking out for you. They'd rather virtue signal, bitch and moan, than actually discuss real issues and real problems affecting everyday New Jerseyans. Again, here on this show, and along with the excellent programming at Jersey's First TV, that's what we're doing. I don't know what these clowns are doing. It's certainly not work. It's certainly not good journalism. And it's certainly not looking out for you. But what else is new with Terrence McDonald, Tom Moran, and the rest of the Lollipop Guild in the establishment media? Yep. They're not looking out for you, folks. And spoiler alert, they never will. And those are my final thoughts. Folks, before we call it a night, I do want to give a special thank you to the Russ Berry Foundation. And I want to take this opportunity to sort of speak to you at home, watching live. I appreciate you all liking and commenting and sharing tonight's episode. And of course, doing so during the replays during the week. I'm going to give you a serious side to Fernando Uribe. I want to thank everyone from elected officials to abstaining members of the community, to educators, to philanthropists, to fellow journalists, to even some exes out there filing letters and submitting them for nomination to the Russ Berry Foundation. And in back-to-back years, I've been nominated to be an honoree for the Russ Berry Foundation. And you'll be happy to know that in back-to-back years, I'll be receiving recognition from the Russ Berry Foundation for my contributions to education, to journalism, and philanthropy. And I am so thankful to all of you, and I am deeply humbled to all of you for your faith in my abilities, for your support of my brand of journalism, my award-winning brand of journalism, my award-winning brand of philanthropy, and my recognized excellence in education. I want to thank you all for that. And again, as you know, I'm not the most humble person around, but I'm deeply humbled by your support. It hit me right here when I saw the nomination letters, getting copied on the emails, and seeing these letters in full view. I want to thank every single person that took the time to nominate me this year for the Russ Berry Making a Difference Award. And it was an honor to be nominated. And I'm very thankful for the recognition that myself and others will be getting in now back-to-back years. As you can see there, of course, right behind me, right, is last year's. Just again, you can see it there again, of course. That's last year's recognition by the Russ Berry Foundation. You'll be happy to learn that I'll be getting another one in the next couple of weeks. So once again, this recognition, these accolades, these accomplishments, they would not be possible without all of you at home. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I love you all for taking the time to nominate me. You didn't have to, but I'm really glad you did. And I'm so grateful to all of you for, again, taking the time to believe in me in every facet of what I do, whether it's education, journalism, or philanthropy. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And once again, I'll continue to work hard for each and every one of you to make sure I live up to your expectations, to make sure I live up to your standards, to make sure I live up to the confidence you have given me in education, in philanthropy, and in journalism. And I give you my word, I'll continue to work hard for all of you. Because if you're going to give your trust to me, I'm going to reward you back by giving you a solid work ethic in journalism in philanthropy and in education. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to every single person that helped make this accomplishment possible. Back-to-back years of recognition by the Russ Berrie Foundation. For more information, check out their site of the russberryfoundation.org. And congratulations to this year's honorees, absolutely upstanding citizens here in New Jersey, doing wonderful things in the community. So once again, to all the honorees this year, congratulations. I'm proud of you. And it's a privilege to even be nominated and to be in the same class as these wonderful honorees this year for the Russ Berrie Foundation. They're doing great things. Once again, visit russberryfoundation.org for more information. And if you're looking to get involved with the Russ Berrie Foundation, folks, I can't think of a better nonprofit organization in New Jersey to get involved with. Trust me, you'll be thankful. Trust me, you'll be happy that you did. And now that I've given you the serious promo, let me give you the Fernando Uribe promo. Okay? Once again, thank you to everyone that supported me this year. Once again, as you can see there, last year's recognition. But folks, I got to tell you, and I'm not claustrophobic, but I might start being claustrophobic because I don't fit in this house with the amount of awards that are contained in here. So if you know a contractor or someone that works in construction, do me a favor, have them call me because I need to possibly expand the size of this living room because I don't fit in this house with the amount of awards and accomplishments and degrees and just greatness. Okay, I feel claustrophobic, like I don't fit here. What am I going to do? I just keep winning awards. I can't help it. But again, folks, that's what's called greatness. For a lot of the haters, online stalkers, and people that just don't like Fernando Uribe, again, there's a fundamental difference. There are people that wake up in the morning saying, can I be great? I don't know. Got to think about that. How can I be great? They go through the day pondering that too. Will I be great? I don't know. They sit there at night, sometimes laying in their bed. Folks, there are people like that. And then there are just people that wake up like Fernando Uribe. And they're just great. We're not the same. So here's to just one more award, folks, in a long line of awards. And spoiler alert, they'll keep coming. Once again, thank you to the Russ Berrie Foundation and to everyone who nominated me this year. Thank you all, and I love you all for taking the time and having the confidence in me for 2 consecutive years. Folks, once again, I want to thank Mary Jo Guinchard, tonight's guest, NJCD5 candidate. We'll be keeping an eye on that race, obviously, in the weeks and months ahead. We will be having her opponent, the incumbent U.S. Representative Josh Gottheimer, later this fall, so you definitely want to keep tuned on that one. As we'll be covering that race and all the House races here during election 2024. Folks, once again, I want to thank you all for supporting Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Facebook. Make sure you like us. Of course, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And, of course, make sure you subscribe to Jersey Verse TV on YouTube. And, of course, whether you get your podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe to us, and you'll be automatically notified of all the great content brought to you by Jersey First TV, especially during the summer months. Maybe you're coming back home from Tiki, visiting in-laws, helping your kid shop for school clothes for the upcoming school year. Whatever it is you're doing, you have your smartphone. Guess what? Take Jersey First TV with you anywhere at any time. And folks, I cannot say enough how grateful I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, folks. It is Jersey First TV. Special thank you, of course, to the amazing Elizabeth Nader for her great program, which premieres every Thursday, the Nader Narrative. And, of course, shout out to Stephen Rombolo and AJ Malillo for their great program, Bridging the Gap, which also airs every Thursday on Jersey First TV. Of course, folks, brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe premiere live every Monday night. Check your local listings for time. And, of course, you'll see great content, as always, folks, providing the best analysis of what's going on in Jersey politics and much more. Folks, nobody does it better than Jersey First TV. Folks, special programming note, next Monday night, we will have Jersey City Mayor and 2025 gubernatorial candidate for the Democrat Party, Stephen Fulop, on the program. Looking forward to a very, very lengthy and detailed discussion about policy, about what's going on in New Jersey, and certainly what his campaign is doing to try to win the nomination for the Democrat Party in 2025. You definitely want to tune in for that, folks. Next Monday night, live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Put on your calendars. Stephen Fulop joins us live on Real Talk. Folks, I can't say enough. Thank you so much for supporting the program. And always remember, it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid. It's always Real Talk via Jersey First TV. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 50 Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit Online magazine for 3 consecutive years. And of course, along with the United States Latino Affairs Initiative. And certainly, folks, I'll continue to be the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, because my level of honesty, now more than ever, is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception. That's right, folks. It's me, Fernando Uribe, the people's choice and the people's voice, saying thank you for tuning in, folks. Again, please party responsibly. Take care of yourself during these very hot summer days. Stay hydrated. Look after your elderly neighbors, children, and pets. And we'll see you next week here, folks, on the latest edition of Real Talk via Jersey First TV. As always, remember, please party responsibly. Thanks for stopping by. And always remember, stay classy, everyone.